Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. The further we get away from the Browns coaching search committee, the more we realize it was a setup from the beginning. Paul DePodesta was never going to get behind Josh McDaniel, and the committee was getting ready to get behind George-Paton, Kevin-Stefanski's cohort from Minnesota. It's fairly obvious Jimmy-Haslam wasn't going to give up the power he'd need to get McDaniels. It's his money, and he has every right to do what he wants to, but it's just that he has proven at least 6 or 7 times since his ownership began that it's not always the best thing to do for the Cleveland Browns. We've got Dan Labbe from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Monday night, it's a brand new week. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into its 24th consecutive season and exclusively seen on cleveland.com. Dan Labbe is here from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. Any coaching changes today? Any general manager changes? Nobody got fired today?
No big changes. I don't think there were any firings. I think Bill Callahan's on board apparently, but that's really the only
Bill Callahan?
note of news. Sure.
Then he'll do what?
Offensive line coach.
Oh.
Yeah, so
okay.
An experienced voice on that coaching staff.
Well, we could have me, the experienced voice of truth and reason, and I can come in because I demand now, more than ever, to be the clock management guy.
You've got it. You can be the guy on the headset.
Did you ever wonder why it's so hard for teams or new coaches to handle that kind of thing at the end of clock management? Because if you've played Madden, or you've seen kids play Madden, you know how to do that.
Yeah, and we all sit there and yell at the TV, right? Like so from the minute you start watching football,
you're yelling at the
TV.
Use
your timeouts. Do this, do that, and I am surprised how difficult it is, especially because now more teams, and the Browns are going to do this, have people who that's like kind of their job is to know stuff like that.
It's not that difficult.
It isn't. It really shouldn't be.
And I have a theory. You ready for the theory?
Always.
That guys like you and me and crazy people like us, we've seen more games as they unfold. So we may not be able to do X's and O's, but we know how many timeouts you need, what to do on the play, and so on. But coaches, they just watch from an X and O standpoint. They don't actually watch the game unfold when they're doing films. And I think they need people like you and I.
And like in the heat of that moment, in the heat of the game,
what do I do
it's
now?
hard sometimes to think about situation. You got that 40-second play clock that starts ticking.
Which is more the reason why your head coach, especially a first-year head coach, shouldn't be calling plays and designing offenses.
You could make that case, but
I just did.
It seems like that's how it's going to go for the Browns. And
you think it's going to go that way? I heard him say is, "I'll wait and see what's the best for the team." What does that mean? What's best for him?
I think we've heard people say that before. And usually, when someone says, "I'm going to do what gives us the best chance to win," the funny thing is, these guys who become head coaches and have big egos and are destined to be head coaches believe that they give their team the best chance.
Well,
to win.
they're wrong.
That's usually how it ends up.
What's new?
We're just waiting on the GM search to wrap up. It's a Senior Bowl this week, which I thought maybe they'd have somebody in place before that. But
who do you think it'll be, Peyton?
Some scouts. It just seems like it's going that way, especially because Andrew Berry was in town for an interview. And it was one of those situations a little bit like with Josh McDaniels, right? When he left, it kind of felt like, okay, he's probably not coming back. If they didn't hire Andrew Berry or start the wheels on hiring Andrew Berry when he came up for that interview, because they know him already.
All right, so
it felt like they
know him. But Stefanski doesn't, I don't think.
I'm not 100% certain.
Okay, so what happens here? Haslam says, okay, Kevin, you get to win this one, I get to win the next one, Paul gets the next one. Is that how that works?
Maybe, but I think they're so intent on making this collaborative, for better or worse. Whoever they're so intent on making this a collaborative thing that they want to put somebody in place that Kevin Stefanski is 100% comfortable with.
Okay, do you think when they interviewed 8 guys, right, for the head coaching job, and who knows how many other jobs, does that tick off the potential candidates that they're just bringing in the world, or they have the right to say no, thank you?
I think it would probably make them upset if, down the line they heard that, hey, this was Kevin Stefanski's job from the start, and you went through this big song and dance to hire guys and pick their brains or something like that. If they felt like they got a legitimate shot, if they felt like they got a legitimate interview, I don't think you can be upset if they just go in a different direction. But again, if it comes out that,
but you don't want to be used.
Of course not. Nobody wants to be used. So I think that would probably drive if someone was angry or not.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. All right, what would a weekend be without an arrest of Odell Beckham or something involving Odell Beckham?
An anti-arrest, I guess, because no charges are pressed. The warrant was
Does
pulled
that
back.
mean that particular police person can't turn around and try to get a nice sizable check?
I suppose he could if he wanted to, but I don't know really on what grounds. And it felt like, based on some things I had read, like the district attorney's office kind of just wanted to get this thing over with. They didn't think it was all that big of a deal.
All right, so tell me, with Odell Beckham, is he worth? He doesn't do anything illegal that we know of, but things happen around him. Is he worth the effort?
Do. I still believe he is. But at the same time, if this turns into, here we go into another spring where he's not coming in, and it's all we're talking about, and then you start to wonder how worth it is. You worry about his health a little bit. If all of a sudden you're finding out maybe he's not getting healthy or whatever it is, I don't know if it's worth it. But right now, I still think moving on from Odell Beckham at this point would be a mistake. I think you try it again. We just saw what he's capable. Even in that last game against Cincinnati, he makes that great catch in the end zone. We see what he's capable of. I still think he's a guy you try and bring back.
Okay, if I twisted your arm, do you say he'll show up for OTAs or not?
If you twisted my arm?
Well, I'm telling you got to have a decision.
I would be surprised if he showed up, at least for the early portions of it.
Well, then I call BS on him.
I think he needs to be there. I think last year, last year I was sort of in the camp of, okay, he's a talented guy. The spring program's a little overrated sometimes. But
not if you don't know your quarterback.
Yeah, I think one of the things that those people like me who thought that really learned is, he really should be there. Yeah. So maybe he doesn't need to be there for the lifting and all of that stuff. But once you're on that field, he needs to be on the field. I had
heard from so many people that he's been with them every day in practice throughout the 16-week schedule, so he should have some kind of rapport with him. But you know what? He didn't.
You're right. He didn't. And the other thing is it's another distraction now for your head coach. Because Kevin Stefanski has to answer questions about it.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, welcome to Cleveland. He did what?
Yeah, thankfully he didn't have to answer questions about that. He was his media obligation was over, so he got to kind of avoid that.
So what did you think? In your time here, have you seen a coach not win the press conference?
I certainly
They all win.
They all win.
No matter what.
Every single one. Freddie won it. Mike Pettin won it. I
can't think of anybody who didn't win it.
Yeah, some people say maybe Pat Shurmur didn't win his, but I don't know. Maybe did, maybe didn't. But every coach wins the press conference.
Yeah. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. And Dan Labbe is here from cleveland.com. Did you know the Ohio Lottery has paid out over $1 billion in winnings over the past 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening all over the state of Ohio. Play an Ohio Lottery an Ohio Lottery game, and do it soon. 216-575-0403. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine, with new content posted each and every day. When we come back, we're going to find out from Dan if the Browns are closing in on a defensive coordinator. Sure looks like it. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler, 'Tyler' 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 '
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It was Jim Brown's quarterback in the 50s. He would just kind of flip it to him, and Brown would run 97 yards, and Milt Plum would get credited for a great long pass. Bailey Howell, Willie Dewitt, 1947. Ron Harper, seen on the left. Ozzie Guillen and Brian Giles, Indian and Pirate. 216-575-0403. I mentioned before that the Browns appear to be on track to hire Joe Woods as a defensive coordinator. Where's that coming from? The fact that they haven't signed anybody else and he's still alive with San Francisco?
I think that could be part of it, and I just think that tapping into that San Francisco defense, this is a defense that has been dominant, that has carried their team to the Super Bowl, that defense and running game, and I think anybody from that group you'd certainly want on board.
You have to look at him. Joe Woods, the defensive coordinator candidate, the defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator with the 49ers, was the Broncos defensive coordinator from 2017 to 18. The Broncos finished third in overall defense in 2017. And he was the defensive backs coach with Minnesota. That's where he caught up with Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, so there's that tie and that collaboration.
Yeah, let me ask you this. You keep hearing when you're trying to sign a head coach, and you hear people say, we got to do it quick so the candidates for OC and DC and whatever, we got to do it before somebody else takes them. As far as I know, there hasn't been a big battle between the teams that needed a new head coach. There hasn't been much of a battle to snag any coordinators or major members of the coaching staff.
I can't really think of any coordinators that have been out there. There's been like 3 teams trying to go get.
Right. Maybe in other years, not this one.
Yeah, and I just think it's the way these hirings have gone. Matt Rule has kind of gone his direction, getting his guys.
Right.
That's what the Browns are trying to do with Stefanski. Joe Judge is tapping into the guys he knows.
Do you think that they're
all coming from different places?
They are. Do you think they're saying, okay, Kevin, you get this pick, and Paul, you get this pick, and Jimmy, I'll let you have this one? Do you think that's happening?
I just think they're trying to I think they're letting Kevin, I hope they're letting Kevin try and drive this train as far as who he wants to keep around.
Even the GM.
Who he wants to hire. Well, yeah, they're letting him have some say on that GM too, which I guess we'll see how that works out. Other organizations have done it, maybe with more experienced guys than Kevin Stefanski, but
all right,
we'll
I did a double take on this. The Browns have hired Chad O'Shea as their wide receiver coach, and the reason I did a double take is Chad O'Shea was supposed to be the MVP of the Indians World Series against the Miami Marlins.
He's come a long way since then.
Florida
since
Marlins.
That Game 6 win.
Oh, there's Chad O'Shea, okay, wide receiver coach. Here you go. Here's the information.
The Vikings on there.
Yeah, right. That's a big helmet. It still fits over his head. Dolphins offensive coordinator in 2019. Well, how about that? You go from an offensive coordinator position to possibly a wide receiver coach. Does that make sense to you?
The Dolphins decided to move on from him, and sometimes when you do get fired or let go or not retained, I don't know exactly what happened there. You have to take a step back and be a receivers coach or something like that.
Well, that could work 2 ways. That could give you incentive to be really good at it, or, my career's on the downside and I'm not making a comeback here.
Yeah, I think the most notable thing is it's not Adam Henry being retained, who, of course, that was a big, hey, they're bringing Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham together to work with Adam Henry, who was in LSU. They clearly wanted to make a change in that room.
How'd that work out?
Not great.
Not great. You assume it would, though, wouldn't you? It sounds like when you hear that Henry gets signed at the beginning of last year, you'd think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and he's a guy that was in the organization. I think he might have actually come in under Hugh Jackson even. And,
could be.
Sometimes that stuff just doesn't work. Sometimes it can be a little too buddy-buddy, whatever it is. Sometimes it just doesn't work out when you're trying to mesh, the old coaching staff with the new coaching staff.
All right, so in general, how are you feeling about what they've done to this point? Still much more to do. Do you have more confidence that you might have had a year ago? Are you less confident? What, or a little of each? I know in my case, I'm not buying into this early next time.
I'm just not going to get excited about any of this. I'm with you. I mean, we've seen it before, and last year we went through this. They're hiring experienced guys. They're hiring James Campen as your O-line coach, and you're keeping Adam Henry on. You're bringing in all these experienced guys. Steve-Wilks, who had success in Carolina.
Looked good at the time.
I mean, everything looked great, and then you went 6-10. So it's really easy to sit here in January and say, hey, they're hiring a great staff, and look at all this experience.
And then you want to say, well, how come they're not working?
Let's see what happens on Sundays.
How come they're available?
Yeah, exactly. That. And let's just see what happens on Sundays.
Your reaction to yesterday's 2 games?
They weren't all that exciting.
Curb your enthusiasm was much better.
I thought Tennessee put up a little bit of a fight at least, and they made it interesting for a quarter and a half. But Kansas City is just
too much.
So good, and
it's
San Francisco's been incredible from week 1 until now. They have just been the dominant team in the NFC, and I think it's interesting. We talk about these coordinators and these head coaching hires. You're going to have the defensive coordinator for San Francisco and the offensive coordinator for Kansas City, both in the Super Bowl. One of those guys is going to be a Super Bowl champion, and they're just going to go back into that job. And neither of them are getting head coaching jobs, which it used to always be. If you were that guy, you were right in line to get that next job.
Isn't it interesting, though, that there has, you mentioned it before, on the maybe at the lower level, you don't see battles for these coaches going on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to teams don't want to wait. And even though we've talked about what's that?
A bird in the hand?
Yeah. They don't want to wait until you can't bring that guy into your building until February now. And I wonder if pushing back the Super Bowl a little bit, maybe maybe that hurt guys a little.
You recall when Brian Billick was a candidate for the Browns early on, and he just wanted to be with his team until they celebrated or didn't celebrate the Super Bowl win.
Yeah, and look at a guy like Brian Flores who got on a plane and started at Miami the next day. And I don't know if everybody wants to do that necessarily.
No, I wouldn't think so. All right, Northeast Factory Direct, 3 locations plus the great website, east, west, and south. South, of course, is the new one. That's on Freeway Drive in Macedonia. You got it at Lakeland Boulevard, the old B&B Appliance Building in West 140th Street. And all you have to do before you go to see one of those locations, go to the web and check out northeastfactory.com and find out information. You're going to find out you're going to pay 60, 70, 80% of what you're going to pay somewhere else when you check out the website, northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll come back in a moment. We'll talk about the general manager and the offensive coordinator searches. Much more to talk about. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say, it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
Just because I'm not $1 million price doesn't mean I'm worthless. We middle prices get zero respect. We're worth hundreds, even thousands. I mean, I'm a handsome bag of money. And there's $110 million worth of us in the Ohio Lottery Cash Celebration scratch-off alone. Plus, the odds of winning are off the chart. 1 in 3.
Play the $30 cash celebration for a chance to win up to $1 million.
You see?
Oh, and lots of prizes between $100 and $1,000.
Everybody wants $1 million. Would $500 be so bad? Come on.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a How Come Quickie. How come when you propose a toast, nobody says rye, wheat, or white? You ever say that?
I never said that after a toast.
You ever did?
No. I'm going to start.
You should. You should. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. All right, so we've talked about the coach's search and all, and I think it's convoluted, but who am I to say? I've never had $1 billion that I know of. It seems convoluted to me that the coach gets chosen and he is in on the search committee for the GM. Number one, does that surprise you? Number two, is that okay?
I think it's okay. It's a little surprising they went this route. I wasn't expecting them to necessarily go this route until Jimmy said that's what they were going to do. We have seen it in other places. San Francisco is a prime example where they had Kyle Shanahan in place and they brought in John Lynch. Now, Kyle Shanahan was an accomplished offensive coordinator.
Right.
Was
and it also took 4 or 5 years.
Candidate. And yes, it's taken a while for that to kind of come together.
But it has come together.
Yeah, it has. So it's happened in other places. I think the Browns have tried variations of this in the past, not under this ownership group necessarily. It's just about, honestly, what it comes down to, winning. If you win, things are going to work.
There's all kinds of ways to do it.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get into these coaches' candidates here, you saw both games yesterday, and I think that Kansas City is a 1.5 favorite. Not that that matters, but what do you think happens on a week from Sunday?
Well, I had picked Kansas City to win the Super Bowl before the season, so I guess I have to stick with them.
Yeah, we do.
And I think that offense is really good, and I think this is a great matchup because you're going to see that pass rush go against Patrick Mahomes, those defensive backs go against that great receiving core. This is a really great matchup. I'm going to stick with Kansas City.
How good is Mahomes?
He's unbelievable. And that run he had probably wasn't even his best play of the day.
No.
He had a couple throws that just floored you.
Astounding.
Yeah. And I'll admit it, I didn't love him coming out of college. I was skeptical, and he has proven me.
Yeah, he didn't look like he had the arm
wrong
back then.
And he just looked like he was in I wasn't sure how his skill set and that offense would translate to the NFL.
Okay,
but
let me tell you,
done a great job.
it does.
Yeah, I think it worked out okay.
All right, the Browns have their GM search going on. Let's take a look at Andrew Berry, who, of course, had been here before. Currently the VP of Football Operations with the Philadelphia Eagles, Browns VP of Player Personnel, 2016 through 18. And the Panthers have requested to interview him for the Executive VP of Football Operations position. He was interviewed by the Browns on Friday. The fact that he's not here anymore, does it mean anything or not?
I think it does because they knew Andrew. It's not like they had to bring him in for an interview and get to know him. He's worked
Show him
for
where
this
his
team
office
before.
will be.
Yeah, exactly. He knows this organization. So I do think it's telling that he's not, that they're still interviewing.
Do you find it interesting, though, that somebody who knows the organization and seen all the changes and some of the problems, that they'd actually want to get involved again?
I would be curious if that was part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a two-way street. It's not necessarily just the Browns saying, and obviously I don't know this for a fact, but it's not just the Browns saying, maybe we'll go a different direction. This is a young, upcoming guy who's going to have a lot of opportunities.
Let's take a look at monti-ossenfort, see what he's up to. He's currently the Patriots Director of College Scouting. Just completed his 17th year in the NFL, 14 of those with the New England Patriots. Currently, his contract with New England is set to expire in May, so can they talk to him before?
They would need permission to do that if the Patriots granted that, but then this would be a situation where maybe, I know with Andrew Berry, there's a possibility that he could revisit things with Carolina after the draft. Somehow that's how some of these things
Ossenfort did meet with the Browns on Friday.
And there's some things in there too where you have to promise. I know Andrew Berry's interview was declined with the Panthers because he wasn't going to be given complete control of 53. There's some language like that sometimes you can.
All right, so here's the name that's been circling heavily today, and that's George-Paton. And you see his situation. He's the general manager candidate, just completed his 13th season as the Vikings VP of Player Personnel and Assistant GM. He's been an assistant to Rick Spielman, right?
Yeah. So this is a guy again with those Minnesota ties, and obviously, look, Minnesota's done a nice job building that roster. They were in the divisional round this year. They beat New Orleans, who was a team that a lot of people thought could go to the Super Bowl. So they've built a talented roster there.
All right, they're
so
also
you could tap into worse places.
Also looking at an offensive coordinator. That search goes on. First, we'll take a look at Rich Scangarello. And Scangarello has been the offensive coordinator, this year, 2019. And the Broncos ranked 28th in overall offense. That's not good. And he worked under Kyle Shanahan as the quarterback coach of the 49ers.
So you're trying to get a little bit of that Shanahan zone blocking stuff coming here. Kevin Stefanski loves it. I think Nick Chubb could be very good in that scheme. Again, you're not blown away by those numbers, though, and you'd have to think if you were bringing him in, this would be Kevin Stefanski's offense.
Yeah, I mean, you look at everybody wants Bill Belichick's guys, but if it's not Bill Belichick, it's not the right guy.
Yeah, you're right. And again, I think this scheme could work in Cleveland, but you can't just hire for scheme. You got to hire a really good coach.
Do you have a hot name out of the three we just mentioned? Scangarella, as well as LaFleur and McDaniel. The GM search of Barry, Ossenfort, and Payton.
Of those three, look, I really like Andrew Barry. Like I said, though, the fact that he's not here kind of tells me a lot. So I think Payton, again, tapping into that Minnesota tree and a guy that Stefanski knows.
How does it work when, for example, Stefanski comes in for the interview and he knows that the quarterback of the near future is Baker Mayfield? Even if he doesn't like him, does he have to lie? Does he have to say, I can work with him? What depends on how bad you want the job, right?
Well, I would hope you wouldn't come in and lie about that, because this is going to be your quarterback,
the most important
right?
choice.
If you want to take this job, you're taking on Baker Mayfield as well, at least for the next few years, to kind of see what you can do with him. So I think anybody that took this job, anybody that was interested in this job, is going to be someone that really liked Baker Mayfield.
And believes he can make him better.
And believes that step back last year
was a step back.
Wasn't really who Baker was, that it was coaching and that he can be better.
Everybody's talking about the weight that he's put on. Have you noticed it? Baker, I'm talking about.
I've seen some photos, but honestly, there was another one last night that a fan posted, and he was wearing one of those white T-shirts. Apparently, Baker's a big white T-shirt guy, and he looked fine. I don't know.
Well, let me tell Baker, if you put weight on, don't wear the white T-shirt.
Yeah, see, and he had the guts to wear it, so,
Although there's a lot of white sweatshirts out in Berea that are available now that Dorsey isn't here.
That's true. A lot of those.
A lot of dog pound shirts.
You could just find them in the dumpster somewhere.
Exactly. Explore your interests and find a program that puts you on a path to a bright future with Tri-C, offering over 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu for more information. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of the players who have some ties here in northeastern Ohio. We'll be surprised at some of the names as we get ready for Super Bowl 54. Back in a moment. And by the way, when they showed yesterday that the Browns hadn't been there and the Lions hadn't been there to the Super Bowl, it's not that we didn't know that, but when you see it, it hurts even more.
It hurts every time when somebody reminds you of it. And even worse when people say, it's been so long since San Francisco has been there. 2012.
Well, I'll give you Kansas City 54 years.
They count.
Or 50 years. That counts. Coming up, we'll take a look at Northeast Ohio in the Super Bowl, even though it won't be the Browns. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Yeah, I got to get up early. My Smiley One people coming out to check out on my furnace. If you're in the market for a new high-efficiency Bryant gas furnace, Smiley One has a 0% APR for 36 months. It's a financing program. They are the best around, smiley1.com. All right, this date in sports history, President Jimmy Carter in 1980 announces the U.S. boycott of the Olympic Games in Moscow. Moscow did the same thing to the United States the next time around. Oh yeah, I'll show you.
Just not gonna show up.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. All right, Northeast Ohio well represented in Super Bowl 54 coming up 2 weeks from yesterday. Kansas City Chiefs, let's take a look at them first. Here's the Northeast Ohio connection, Travis-Kelce from Cleveland Heights High, and Anthony Hitchens, Frank Clark of Glenville High School, and Mitchell-Schwartz, of course, played with the Browns from 2012 until 2015. Now he's an all-pro right tackle who the Browns could have used and should have used for the last 4 or 5 years.
Still trying to find his replacement all these years later.
Yeah, they haven't been able to yet. All right, let's take a look at Northeast Ohio connections for the San Francisco 49ers. Here you go. Browns OC Kyle Shanahan in 2014. Then he came up with the PowerPoint presentation, got himself out of here. The Browns kick returner, how about that? Raheem Mostert, what's he done lately?
I don't know. Have you heard anything about him?
I didn't see him. He was running really fast. Kyle Juszczyk from Cloverleaf High School in Lodi. And Nick Bosa, everybody knows Nick Bosa, former Ohio State Buckeye, from 16 until 18. He's every bit as good as his brother.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And of course, Browns fans got to know him very well
in
that Monday night game. And Kyle Juszczyk, a guy bringing back the fullback position.
Yeah.
And actually got hurt in that Browns game, and it looked like it was pretty bad, but was able to come back. Has been fantastic.
It would be nice if it was Cleveland Browns, not Northeast Ohio connections.
Yeah, I think the Browns were going after Juszczyk at one point. And of course, Mitchell-Schwartz, again, just one of those.
It might have been in the decade.
Contract squabbles. And
yeah, which should have never happened.
Yeah.
I mean, he wanted to be here.
My
understanding of it is he wanted to be here. His parents wanted him to be here. He wound up at that point being engaged to a Cleveland girl. He's married to her now. And they didn't like the fact that they thought they were trying to hold him up a little bit.
Yeah,
the Browns thought
that's what it
Mitchell
felt
was.
like.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't.
That was the first free agent class for that new Sashi Brown regime, and they let a lot of guys go. And when you let a talented player that you drafted and developed leave, you're just going to chase your tail.
For what? What is it for? Just to show you how tough they are?
I honestly don't know.
I mean, Mitchell was a guy
no
that could
excuse
use.
for losing a guy like Mitchell-Schwartz.
No question about that. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Northeast Factory Direct. 3 great locations plus a great website. You want to check out the website before you go anywhere. You got east, west, and south. West at West 140th Street, Lakeland Boulevard. That's the old B&B Appliance Building in Euclid. Freeway Drive in Macedonia. Before you do anything, go to northeastfactorydirect.com. You're going to save 50, 60, 70%. Why? Because Alex, who's now in his 20th year of business, believe it or not, which started in a garage in Lakewood with one piece of furniture. Look what he's turned it into, one of the great success stories in all of the state of Ohio. northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll take a break and come on back. Sokolowski's University Inn. They're making room for at the Polish Hall of Fame portion of Sokolowski's for Kevin-Stefanski. They're making it already.
He's going to have to eat there a lot.
He's going to have to eat there a lot. No, on his way down to the stadium, he can just stop over.
Why not?
Everybody else does. Why not? Sokolowski's University Inn, located in Tremont, established in 1923. It makes them the oldest family-owned, operated restaurant in all of northeastern Ohio. When we get back, we'll take a look at the Facebook question of the day, see how you people responded to it. More Sports and Les-Levine continues with Dan Labbe exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again. Your concrete is uneven, damp, and not healthy. Carpet and tile don't last, breed mold and mildew, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects uneven concrete and is not affected by dampness or moisture. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of January. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
This date in Les-Levine history, January 20th, 2008. Les puts pressure on the International Olympic Committee to add the free cell solitaire computer game to the Olympic Games. He hasn't lost a game in 7 years. You know that game?
I know that game. What
You
about
do?
that Minesweeper game, too?
I don't know
a good
that one.
too.
I have a very serious relationship going on with the free cell.
I was not very good at it, so that was all.
I haven't
yours.
lost in 7 years.
All right.
I only played it 4 times.
That's
no,
okay.
that's not true at all. How come Quickie's coming up in the next segment? I do want to bring up this one email that I got. I did 92.3 The Fan today. Somebody called about Dave Ford, former pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles, amongst others. And I made a mistake. I said that I thought he went to West Tech. I know Dave, and I thought he played for some teams I played for. But he went to Lincoln West High School, according to Glenn Berger, and Glenn is absolutely right. I apologize for that. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Matt, who's in Aurora. Matt, good evening.
Hey, Les.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Hey, the excuses to fire Freddie. You said that Dorsey had to be let.
I lost you there. Say it again. Are you still there, Matt? Did you catch what he wanted to know?
I didn't. No, I lost him at.
Dorsey. Lost him at hello.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get him back. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. How soon do they need to make these decisions, hiring decisions? This week?
Yeah, and of course, if they hired, James Woods, he wouldn't be able to start till after the Super Bowl. But I do think they want to get a lot of this stuff just squared away.
Right, just to get it in and get to the feel of showing up to work
now
and all
you're
that
start
stuff. Find out who's who.
The draft process kind of starts rolling a little bit here.
Right.
So you want to make sure that, you still have Alonzo Highsmith and Elliott Wolf on board who can kind of run things there a little bit. But you want to have everybody in place to start putting all of that together. And of course, look, you got free agency coming.
Do you see any position for those guys? Highsmith and one. It wasn't going to work out with one or the other. It was either going to work out with both or neither, right?
And I do think there were people in the front office, too, that maybe would have gone to bat for Freddie or maybe weren't 100% on board on letting Freddie go. And then, of course, after they made that decision, they wanted, to kind of reconfigure things and maybe find a new role for John Dorsey. And I think he said, yeah, you know what?
Do you agree or disagree with the firing of him?
Well, Dorsey is gone, and he's been kind of silent, right? We haven't heard nothing from him.
From Dorsey? Well, if he wants to collect his paycheck, you're not gonna hear anything from him. If he was paid off in full and had his money, he might want to talk, but you'd be silly to talk now, right?
Yeah, and I remember when everything went down in Kansas City, he was pretty quiet after all of that, and we didn't really hear from him until the Browns hired him, and he didn't really talk a lot about what happened in Kansas City.
Right.
So I think he's gonna lay low, and the last time he built a little bunker in his basement and scouted players, maybe he's gonna do that again and wait for another job to come along.
Did you want them to keep Freddie some way?
No. But the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, and the Packers were one step away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so some people were doing a good job there, including Freddie, including Dorsey. You can't argue about the job he did there. You could argue maybe here, but for the most part, he did all right.
Can't argue about the job he did there. Could argue maybe here.
Okay, we got to go. Facebook question of the day: is it time for the Browns to move on from Odell Beckham Jr.? Your answer first.
I'll say no. I think you wait and kind of see. I don't think there's any rush to move on right now.
Frank Marino says his value would be the highest just a day or two before or during the draft. I would deal him, then try to recoup what I'd given up to get him. His immaturity is too much of a distraction, addition by subtraction if they get rid of him. Sean Murphy says, no, I wish they would just quit talking about it already. Kevin Quinby, I wouldn't give him away, but I would see what is offered for him. Stefanski is probably drooling at the prospect of Chubb, Landry, OBJ, Njoku, and Mayfield on the other hand. Rick May, yes, it's time. When you can't even get arrested at your own alma mater, it's time. In spite of every diva thing that you did there, you have to truly become irrelevant. Time to move on, Odell, and the further away from Cleveland, the better. Andy Meese says, yes, football is a team game, and OBJ puts me ahead of we. He proved too much to handle for the first-time head coach this past season. I'm not sure I'm willing to roll the dice with another one and an unproven head coach. Robert Moore says they need to add Buckeyes to the roster. Draft KJ Hill, and say goodbye to OBJ. I've always been a proponent of the best Buckeye available.
It's worked out for a lot of teams lately, hasn't it?
Not the Browns.
Well, they got Denzel Ward, but it's worked out for some
Ed
other
Arlen says, yeah, and Mayfield too. He's only an average quarterback at best. And finally, Ted Moon. I know it's popular to say ditch him, but we as fans are not the coaches. Owners are the front office. I have confidence in Stefanski to do the right thing for himself, the coaches, the Browns, and ultimately us. Dan, let the coach decide, right? You think?
I think you do. I think if Kevin Stefanski comes in and you're hiring, we're trying to put together this collaborative process that you keep talking about, and the coach and the GM say, look, this just isn't healthy. He's too much of a distraction. It's not going to make us better. Then you have to let him drive that bus.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. We've got Dan Labbe with us from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. And you've got the voicemail of Truth and Reason. If you don't catch us during the show, which we do live from 6 until 7 Eastern Time, you can call us at the voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. Leave us a message. And I found myself arguing with the people, and it's a message. You ever do that?
They can hear you somehow. They can sense it.
It's sort of like, enough of these marketing calls. I don't need to get them here during the show. I don't think.
People like to leave voicemails, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we'll come back. We'll take a look at other stuff, including How Come Quickies, and a couple final thoughts with Dan when we get back. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of January. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen. For old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw from WKYC.com will join us. In fact, he's going to join us the next 2 nights, tomorrow night and Thursday. We're going to have Hoynesy in, but Hoynesy's got, they're announcing the Hall of Fame balloting tomorrow, so he's got to be ready for that. You think Omar gets it?
I don't think he gets it, but I think he's getting closer.
He's getting closer. He had a good year last year.
Yeah, it feels like he's getting a lot closer.
Yeah, now you got Derek Jeter, and he obviously will be close to unanimous.
Yeah.
But Omar's a little bit ahead of the game, I think.
Yeah, it's trending that way, and hopefully it'll keep going that way.
Just telling somebody today on radio that the most enjoyable time watching the Indians in my life, I think, was when Robbie Alomar and Omar Vizquel played second and short together. It's a pleasure.
And they gelled so quickly.
Right.
Like, it didn't take any time. It looked like they've been playing together for 10 years.
You know, I don't have the book here now. I have it in my office. Jim Ingram's book about Mike Hargrove. And first of all, Hargrove says in the book that his favorite player of all time that played for him was Beltran.
Oh,
I was kind of surprised on that. That was at Seattle. But he also said he'd always heard about Robbie Alomar and Omar not getting along, but he never saw, I don't think this is just a politically correct thing. He says he never saw a problem between the two.
If they didn't get along, it didn't show on the field.
Didn't show on double play balls, I can tell you that. All right, a couple of How Come Quickies. You ready?
Ready.
You want to judge them?
We'll see what happens.
All right, here we go. Rick Ward sends in, he says, seems the Browns receivers have spare time on their hands. How about getting those surgeries out of the way so we don't hear how they were missing OTAs and training camp due to surgery? Why weren't they done immediately after the last game?
That's right. Well, it seems like, I don't know that we've got an official word, but I think Jarvis is going to participate in some stuff here in the Pro Bowl, so maybe everything came back and they decided not to have it.
Maybe so. Anyway, Rick in Westerville says he hasn't seen any recent updates on the topic. Well, there it is right here. John in Ashtabula says, how come an Astros home run trot around the bases appears to have a shortcut? How come in Houston, Altuve has become the new buzzword? You got Buzz Aldrin. I mean, Houston is where NASA is, right?
We're going to start off with a high score. We're going to go 8 on those.
8?
I like
it. 8 is pretty good.
Puns.
From Larry. How come the Post-it note wasn't invented in Reminderville? I have friends in Reminderville. I'll ask about that. Thanks.
Would have been perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to go a little below the Astros one. We'll go...
That's a high bar that there's 7.5. Yeah, 7.5 is
still
good.
Pretty good.
He says he enjoys streaming our show down here. I don't know where down here is. Can you make anything down here out of this? See what you can do there. Mr. Gullible checks in today. All right, you got to...
I've got nothing.
You got nothing?
Nothing.
Okay, how about if you can figure out what Mr. Gullible says here. How come I got up early today to catch some fog, but I missed MIST? So it just misses. I think it just misses.
Yeah, we're going to go about 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
That's fair. Mr. Gullible says, how come an incompetent mind reader is telepathetic?
That was a little better.
Not telepathic.
We're gonna get a little intricate here. 7.3.
7.3. Yeah. I don't think we've ever had that before. All right, John Patrick writes in, how come when I told this cute girl she looked cool, she said, you don't look so hot yourself? Self-deprecating.
Not better than the Astros one, but still pretty good.
Right.
We'll go, since we're getting so detailed, we'll go 7.7.
Well, we're also getting near the end of the show.
Second best one. Yeah.
Yeah. We grade on a curve here when we get close.
Yeah.
When we only have 2 timeouts remaining. All right, you got about a minute or 2 to say anything you want that we didn't cover today.
Anything I want.
What do you got?
Huh? Well,
show me your stuff.
I'm very interested to see how Kevin Stefanski is as a leader. I think that's really the trait that could differentiate him.
Do you have a problem that he's so young? 37?
I don't.
Okay.
I honestly don't. And I think, we're seeing it more and more in this league that it's trending younger and younger.
Right.
And he's not so young that I think it'll be a problem. I think this is a guy that has sort of, been built to be a leader. And I think he's got a lot of leadership traits.
And built to be a coach based on his father and what
right.
he's done.
And I hope that that's going to translate when he actually puts on the
Okay,
headset.
so all right, you don't have a problem with him being so young. Do you have a problem that he's only been with one organization? Excuse me, let's talk hockey. One organization.
On one hand, you would like him to have been in other places, but he's worked under multiple head coaches.
Right.
And I think it says something that the organization wanted to keep him around no matter who was changing. He's coached a number of different positions. He's climbed that offensive ladder, and I think that matters, that he's coached tight ends, running backs, quarterbacks, offensive coordinator. He's at least worked his way up.
What do you sense? More of a running game or more of a passing game?
I think it's going to be a really good mix. I think it's going to be a little more like that Kyle Shanahan offense. Now, I don't think we're going to see a game where the quarterback throws 8 times, but this is not a guy that's going to be afraid to line up and
didn't have to throw
run the
anymore.
ball. Yeah, exactly. But this is not going to be a guy that's going to be afraid if something's working. He's just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until you stop it.
Does it bother you? We went through another coaching change and search and all that stuff, and you had Kyle Shanahan just sitting there who could have been the guy.
Yeah, that was such a missed opportunity to let him go. I don't know if anyone looked at him and said, oh, this guy's going to be a great head coach in 2014. But I think we knew he was a pretty good offensive coordinator.
Came from a pretty good place.
Yeah, came from, obviously has that lineage and has just gone up and up and up since.
All right, tell me something good. What should I be excited about? Because I've promised, and you promised, I think, that we're not going to get too excited about what we see and what we hear, maybe until September. So what can I be a little excited about?
I think you're going to watch games on Sunday, and you're at least going to look at the head coach and say, he's not getting outsmarted. Look, he's an Ivy League guy. There's a lot of Ivy League guys in that building now. I hope at least you're not going to look at a team that's not prepared and that's going to get outsmarted every week. They're going to be ready to go on Sundays. Again, we'll see.
I don't want to see the guy's his diploma. I want to see his grade point average.
I think it was pretty good.
One would think. All right, so all in all, without getting too excited, you're somewhat happy about what's gone down, or is it just way too early? Because they all look good at this point.
They all look good at this point, right? And his resume isn't huge. There were other guys that I was interested in, but I do like the fact that there seems to be a direction in this organization. We also know this ownership can change paths
tomorrow.
like that. So,
did you want McDaniels?
I was curious about McDaniels. The guy I was really curious about was actually Eric Bieniemy with Kansas City, who's worked with Patrick Mahomes, and I don't know a ton about him. I've heard some interviews with him. He seems like a really impressive guy from a leadership standpoint. But look, he's not getting jobs elsewhere either. He's interviewing places and not getting jobs. So maybe he just doesn't interview well or something. I think he deserves a shot.
I wonder if the Rooney Rule hurts them as much as it helps somebody like Bieniemy. I mean, if you're forcing an interview, that's not good, right?
No, and if you're Eric Bieniemy, you don't want to be that guy either.
No.
You want to get legitimate job interviews and get legitimate opportunities.
You don't want to be the flavor of the month and then somebody else is it the next year and third guy the next year after that.
Yeah, and I wonder if Andy Reid maybe gives him some opportunities to call plays next year. He's the guy in Patrick Mahomes' headset, but he's not the actual play caller.
Right.
And I wonder if Andy Reid says, all right, look, I want to get this guy hired. I know he really likes him. If he gives him an opportunity to maybe call some plays
He's
next
been
season.
really complimentary about him.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
He seems to really be a guy that Andy Reid likes.
All right, that'll do it for us. Great job by Dan Labbe. As always, you can always read him at cleveland.com or, of course, The Plain Dealer, covering the Cleveland Browns, which is a full-time job.
It is. Never ends.
Did you know it was going to be a full-time job?
I had some clues.
Thanks to Dan Labbe. We'll see you tomorrow. Bud Shaw with us. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.